Today we will talk about wealth, not just any wealth, but about historical figures whose fortunes were so immense that even the richest people of today, like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, can only compete or in some cases fall short. Let's dive into the past and discover the richest individuals in history. Mansa Musa, the Golden King of Mali. Let's begin with someone who often tops the list of the richest people of all time. Mansa Musa, the ruler of the Mali Empire in the 14th century. His wealth is impossible to quantify precisely, but some historians estimate it exceeded $400 billion in today's money. He controlled the largest gold reserves in the world, making his empire incredibly powerful and prosperous. In 1324, Mansa Musa embarked on a legendary pilgrimage to Mecca, accompanied by a massive caravan of thousands of soldiers, servants, and camels laden with gold. His generous donations along the way caused economic disruptions in cities like Cairo and Medina due to the devaluation of gold. His name is also tied to cultural and scientific advancement. Under his reign, the Malian capital of Timbuktu saw the construction of remarkable universities and mosques, many of which still stand today. Mansa Musa left a legacy that not only solidified his status as the richest man in history, but also shaped the development of West Africa as a whole. Genghis Khan, the conqueror of the world. The leader of one of the largest empires in history, Genghis Khan wielded immense power and wealth. While his fortune cannot be calculated in modern terms, he controlled vast lands and resources that made up a significant portion of the global economy at the time. His empire stretched from China to Eastern Europe, covering about 22% of the Earth's landmass. Interestingly, Genghis Khan was not only a military genius but also a skilled administrator. He implemented efficient laws known as yasa, ensured the safety of trade along the Silk Road, and united numerous peoples under his rule. Genghis Khan himself lived relatively modestly, shunning excess and preferring a tent over lavish palaces. Even during his conquests, he often showed respect for local traditions and religions, which solidified his authority. His legacy remains one of the most monumental in history. Augustus Caesar, the first Roman emperor. The first Roman emperor, Augustus Caesar, ruled an empire that controlled up to 30% of the global economy. His personal wealth included vast landholdings and treasures that are impossible to calculate precisely, but are estimated to have been worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Augustus not only stabilized Rome after a period of civil wars, but also laid the foundation for a golden age of prosperity known as the Roman Peace, Pax Romana. He reformed the tax system, established an efficient bureaucracy, and actively developed infrastructure, including roads, aqueducts, and cities. Remarkably, despite his immense wealth and power, Augustus maintained the image of a modest leader devoted to the welfare of his people. His reign became a benchmark for governance for many emperors who followed. Akbar the Great, the Enlightened Emperor. Akbar, one of the most renowned emperors of the Mughal Empire in India, ruled in the 16th century. His wealth was deeply tied to the riches of his empire, which accounted for roughly a quarter of the global economy. Akbar was known not only as a wealthy ruler, but also as a patron of the arts and a visionary reformer. He introduced numerous reforms, including the abolition of the jizya tax on non-Muslims, fostering unity among people of different religions. Akbar also created his own religious system, Dini Ilahi, divine faith, which sought to merge elements of various religions. He actively promoted art and science, transforming his court into a hub of cultural flourishing. One of his greatest achievements was strengthening the empire through marital alliances and diplomatic relations with other regions. Under his reign, the magnificent capital of Fatehpur Sikri was built, an architectural masterpiece that continues to awe visitors with its beauty and grandeur. Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia. The last Tsar of the Russian Empire, Nicholas II, possessed personal wealth estimated at around $300 billion. His fortune included vast lands, magnificent palaces such as the Winter Palace and the Levadia Palace, and enormous reserves of gold. Nicholas II was also the owner of Fabergé, the renowned jewelry brand that created the legendary imperial eggs. However, his reign was overshadowed by severe social and economic challenges, including Russia's disastrous involvement in World War I. These issues led to widespread unrest, culminating in the February Revolution of 1917 and the eventual fall of the monarchy. Nicholas and his family were arrested and later executed by the Bolsheviks. His tragic fate remains one of the most debated events in Russian history. Andrew Carnegie, the Steel King. Andrew Carnegie, a 19th-century industrialist, amassed a fortune through steel production. His wealth is estimated at $310 billion in today's dollars. Carnegie not only built the largest steel company of his time, Carnegie Steel Company, but also became a symbol of the American dream, starting his career working at a cotton mill for $1.20 a week. Carnegie was renowned for his philosophy of wealth, outlined in his essay, The Gospel of Wealth, where he argued that the rich have a duty to use their wealth for the greater good. He was a prolific philanthropist, funding the construction of over 2,500 libraries worldwide, including the first public libraries in the US and the UK, making books accessible to millions. One of his most famous contributions was Carnegie Hall in New York City, a cultural landmark that remains one of the world's most prestigious venues. His legacy in education includes founding Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh and numerous research institutions that continue to fund advancements in science, medicine, and technology. Carnegie also championed peace initiatives, establishing the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, which remains active today. Through his philanthropy, Carnegie not only transformed access to education, but also laid the foundation for modern philanthropy, inspiring future generations of billionaires. Osman Ali Khan, the Adorned Monarch. The last Nizam of Hyderabad, Osman Ali Khan, was immensely wealthy, with his fortune estimated at $230 billion. He owned vast reserves of precious gems, including the famous Jakob diamond, which he used as a paperweight. Osman Ali Khan also built an extensive educational and medical infrastructure, including Osmania University, which remains operational today. Known for his frugality, he dressed simply despite his immense wealth, but generously supported art and culture. His reign also saw the creation of one of Asia's largest libraries, housing millions of rare books and manuscripts. Interestingly, during his rule, Hyderabad remained an independent princely state, maintaining significant autonomy even under British control. He issued his own currency and maintained a formidable army, regarded as one of the strongest in the region. Osman Ali Khan financed the restoration of the iconic Mecca Masjid, one of the largest Islamic structures in India, and preserved the unique cultural traditions of his people. Osman Ali Khan was also celebrated for his contributions to education and healthcare. He established numerous schools, hospitals, and universities, including the Osmania Medical College, which is now one of India's leading institutions. Under his leadership, Hyderabad became a hub of art and science, attracting scholars and artists from around the world. His library, with its millions of books and rare manuscripts, became one of Asia's most significant repositories of knowledge. After his death in 1967, his wealth became the subject of prolonged legal disputes that continue to this day, underscoring his legendary status. Many of his initiatives left an indelible mark on the region's history, transforming Hyderabad into a cultural and scientific epicenter. Cornelius Vanderbilt, the railroad tycoon. This 19th-century American magnate built a vast railroad and shipping empire, with his fortune estimated at $215 billion. Cornelius Vanderbilt began his journey with a small ferry business in New York, but soon transformed it into the largest transportation network in the United States. His projects played a pivotal role in the growth of the American economy, especially following the completion of the first transcontinental railroads. Despite his immense wealth, Vanderbilt led a relatively modest lifestyle and avoided excessive luxury. However, he was known for his ruthless business practices, often employing aggressive tactics to eliminate competitors. For instance, he would initiate price wars, offering transportation at such low rates that rivals couldn't stay afloat. Once the competition was eliminated, he would raise prices to recoup his losses. Vanderbilt also made significant contributions to education, donating a substantial amount to establish Vanderbilt University in Nashville, which became one of the country's leading educational institutions. He was recognized not only as a railroad tycoon, but also as a transformative figure who revolutionized transportation and communication in America. His investments in infrastructure enabled rapid expansion of trade and connectivity between states, driving the industrialization of the United States. Muammar Gaddafi, the oil dictator. The Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi was one of the wealthiest figures in modern history, with an estimated fortune of $200 billion, primarily amassed through his control of Libya's oil resources. Gaddafi used his wealth to fund large-scale infrastructure projects, such as the Great Man-Made River, the world's largest water pipeline system, which brought water to Libya's arid regions. He also supported numerous political movements and organizations worldwide, bolstering his influence on the international stage. His rule was marked by lavish spending on personal security and luxury, including opulent palaces and a vast collection of cars. However, his regime was also notorious for brutality and repression, leading to widespread protests and a civil war in 2011 that resulted in his overthrow and death. Gaddafi's legacy is a complex one, blending monumental achievements with authoritarian tyranny. Henry Ford, the father of the modern automobile. The founder of Ford Motor Company, Henry Ford, revolutionized the automotive industry by making cars affordable for the masses, amassing an estimated fortune of $200 billion in today's terms. His groundbreaking assembly line production system dramatically reduced costs, making automobiles accessible to ordinary families and transforming society. Ford was not only a successful entrepreneur but also a social reformer, introducing a minimum wage of $5 a day for his workers, an unprecedented move at the time. Interestingly, Ford also explored biofuels, envisioning them as the future of the automotive industry. Beyond his business ventures, he actively supported agricultural and educational projects, including agronomy research to improve farm productivity. He established Greenfield Village, a cultural center dedicated to the history of American industrialization, and funded the creation of a school for workers to develop management skills. Ford was a staunch advocate for the working class, launching programs for employees that included not only high wages, but also access to health care and education. He also experimented with social engineering, such as the creation of the utopian community of Fordlandia in Brazil for rubber production, though this endeavor ultimately failed. His contributions to industrialization remain among the most significant in history. William the Conqueror, the Norman Conqueror. William I, known as William the Conqueror, ruled England in the 11th century. His wealth encompassed the lands and resources of both England and Normandy, with historians estimating his fortune at $230 billion when accounting for the scale of his holdings at the time. William made history with the Norman conquest of 1066, defeating the Anglo-Saxon king Harold II at the Battle of Hastings. Following his victory, he became the first Norman king of England and implemented sweeping administrative reforms, including centralized taxation and the creation of the famous Asterisk Domesday Book, Europe's first land registry. His reign not only solidified England's power, but also laid the foundation for its development into one of the strongest medieval states. William was also a prolific builder of fortifications, constructing imposing castles such as the Tower of London, which became enduring symbols of his authority. His leadership and reforms shaped the trajectory of English history, leaving a legacy of strength and centralized governance. Jakob Fugger, the wealthiest banker in Europe. This 16th-century German banker and merchant, known as Fugger the Rich, controlled vast financial operations and the trade of silver and gold across Europe. His fortune is estimated at $400 billion in today's terms. Jakob Fugger played a pivotal role in financing some of Europe's greatest monarchs, including Charles V, whom he funded for his coronation as Holy Roman Emperor. His banks also financed the construction of St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. Fugger was a pioneer of the modern banking system, introducing concepts such as promissory notes and international credit systems. Remarkably, he established the world's first social housing project, the Fuggerei, where families could live for a symbolic fee that remains unchanged to this day. Fugger also heavily invested in silver and copper mining, becoming a key player in the global metallurgy industry of the 16th century. His mines in Tyrol and Hungary supplied Europe with critical resources. Fugger significantly influenced the growth of international trade. His financial networks spanned Europe, from Venice to Antwerp, and even extended to the Ottoman Empire. His support made major geographical discoveries and expeditions possible. Jakob Fugger not only amassed an extraordinary fortune, but also transformed the economic system of his time, laying the foundations of global capitalism. John D. Rockefeller, the oil baron. Industrial magnate and founder of Standard Oil, John D. Rockefeller was the first American billionaire. At the peak of his career, his fortune reached $340 billion, making him one of the most influential figures of his time. Rockefeller not only dominated the oil industry, but also developed the strategy of vertical integration, allowing his company to control every stage of production, from oil extraction to its delivery to end consumers. Interestingly, despite his immense wealth, Rockefeller was frugal in his personal life. He was deeply involved in philanthropy, founding organizations such as the Rockefeller Foundation and the University of Chicago. His efforts in medicine led to the eradication of diseases like rickets and yellow fever, thanks to large-scale vaccination programs and research he funded. In addition, he was a strong supporter of education and science, financing research that changed the world. Rockefeller allocated significant resources to agricultural development, helping combat hunger in underdeveloped countries. He also supported the establishment of the National Institutes of Health, NIH, in the US, which became a leading organization in medical research. His legacy blends business genius with a commitment to philanthropy, making him one of the most influential people of his era. Solomon, the wise and wealthy king. The biblical king Solomon, the son of David, is often cited as one of the wealthiest individuals in history. His wealth included gold, precious gems, and tribute from other kingdoms. He ruled during the peak of the Kingdom of Israel and was renowned for his wisdom, as reflected in legends such as his judgment in the case of the disputed child. Solomon built the magnificent temple in Jerusalem, which became not only the center of religious life, but also a symbol of his wealth and power. The temple was adorned with gold and precious stones, underscoring Solomon's status as one of the most influential rulers of his time. He annually received a tribute of 666 talents of gold, around 22 tons, highlighting the vastness of his wealth. Additionally, Solomon was known as a skilled diplomat who strengthened his influence through marriage alliances and trade agreements with neighboring powers, including Egypt and Phoenicia. Legends also suggest that Solomon possessed a magical ring, granting him control over spirits and demons, which helped him build his grand structures. His reign was marked not only by the construction of the temple, but also by the establishment of a justice system that laid the foundation for biblical principles of fairness. The legends of Solomon have inspired many cultures and religions, and his reign remains a symbol of prosperity, wisdom, and justice. Emperor Shenzong, the visionary of the Song dynasty. The Chinese emperor of the Song era, 11th century, Shenzong, ruled over one of the most prosperous economies of his time. His wealth was closely tied to developing technologies, booming trade, and innovative reforms. The wealth of the Song dynasty is estimated to be in the trillions of dollars in modern terms. Shenzong actively supported scientific research and the introduction of technologies such as paper manufacturing and printing, which made knowledge more accessible. His reign is also associated with infrastructure development, including canals and irrigation systems, which strengthened the agricultural economy. The emperor also focused on foreign trade, establishing trade relations with India, Persia, and Arab nations. However, his reign was not without challenges. Shenzong sought to strengthen the borders, leading to prolonged conflicts with neighboring states like Liao. Despite this, his era remains a symbol of China's cultural and economic flourishing, making the Song dynasty one of the most influential in history. As you can see, wealth is a relative concept. Today's billionaires build their fortunes on technology, while in the past, wealth was based on control over lands, resources, and entire empires. These historical figures not only possessed immense wealth but also shaped the course of world history. Which one impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments, and see you in the next video.